Hello and welcome to Purple Space's Purple Light Up reference group meeting. This is a short housekeeping announcement before we begin. Captioning is available and should be appearing at the bottom of your screen. This webinar is being recorded and we will be uploading to Purple Space's resource library on our website, purplespace.org. We encourage you to connect with your peers in the chat, and you can post questions to the panelists throughout the session, which we'll cover later on. Now, I'm delighted to hand over to Purple Space CEO and founder, as well as the creator of the Purple Light Up movement, Kate Nash.
Kirsty, thank you so much. And I can see the numbers going up and up and up. So welcome to everybody to today's meeting. We are really delighted that you can join us, and you are in for a complete treat. So look, we are at the 6 months mark as we plan for Purple Light Up 2022. It's just 177 days left before, as a community, we leverage one of the most important days in the global change calendar. And as you all know, Purple Light Up is much more than a one-day wonder. It's both the culmination of effort, primarily through the disability employee resource groups that work around the globe to drive change with their colleagues. But it's also the trigger for renewed work and refreshed energy and more projects and more plans. So during the celebration, as you all know, we paint the world purple. Sometimes that's via light bulbs, and sometimes it's in very different and more sustainable ways. It might be us taking a selfie of ourselves with a purple scarf around our neck that might have been bought from the local charity shop. And whatever you choose to celebrate, we of course do it as a community, showcasing, of course, the economic contribution of people with disabilities as a mark of respect to 3rd of December, United Nations International Day of Persons with Disability, and using the colour purple to make the world a smaller place, make it more purposeful in the work that we do, and make it, importantly, a more positive place when it comes to showcasing the experiences of disabled people. We have the numbers are going up and up. We think that over the course of the session, we will have at least 100 of you, and of course, many more as you watch this recording. And I encourage, if you're dropping in live time, keep your questions coming in through the chat box. Team are on standby, so there's no such thing as a silly question. So just jump into the chat box and we have an opportunity to pose questions from our two absolutely fantastic speakers later on. I'm terribly excited. So why not just jump into the chat now? Give yourself a break, get off the email, pull up a chair, tell us who you are, where you're dialing in from, why you're here, and really what excites you about taking part in this global movement. It may be that you're a seasoned pro and were there right at the very beginning, or it may be that you're novice. So wherever you are and whatever you're here for, then just let your fellow colleagues know. So very quickly, before I hand over to my colleague Brendan, purpose of these group meetings is threefold. It's one, so you could share experiences about how your organisation has leveraged the movement to stimulate, to develop and to sustain culture change. Secondly, it's just for you to think about impact. You know, this is not just about turning the world purple. It's about what are the things you want to do, what do you want to achieve in advance of designing your activities. Quality impact comes from quality thinking, and our two colleagues here today are going to tell us all about that. And then lastly, is really to invite you to engage with the Purple Space core gig and for us to share some information about how you can get involved. The leader-to-leader concept was so skillfully executed by Graham and Alex, who are part of our HSBC secondment team. It was just genius, and we're going to be doing it again, focusing on a different theme, and the team will tell you more. So let me hand over to a man who needs little introduction, Brendan Roach, our Director of Strategy and Networkology. I'll drop in towards the end. I'm here all of the time, so you'll hear me and see me on the chat box. Brendan, over to you.
Thank you, Kate. Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's session. So I'm Brendan. It is primarily my job is to guide us through this hour, and what a great agenda we have today. So we will hear from Corie Brown and Michael Vermeesh about how they've used Purple Light Up and last year's Leader to Leader theme to drive engagement and change at Channel 4 and Microsoft, respectively. I'll be back to update you on this year's Leader to Leader theme, and Graham will also be on hand to give an update about the support that you can access to help you plan and deliver an impactful Purple Light Up in your organisation too. We'll have some time for questions and answers, and then finally we'll be saying hello, but also goodbye to the legendary Andy Kneen of Shell, so formerly of Shell, I should say, Purple Ambassador, Purple Space Ambassador, and chair of these meetings since their inception, and now moving on to pastures new. But before I get too emotional thinking about that last item, let's get started. So we have two incredible guest speakers today, so both on hand to speak for 10 minutes each. It's my job to keep us to time, so Corie and Michael, I'll give you both a shout out at the 8-minute mark, and if you need me, I'll chime back in on the 10-minute mark as well. We'll have time for questions after all of the presentation, so feel free to pop your comments and questions into the chat anytime. The team will scoop them up. So first up, it's Corie Brown. So Corie, Purple Space Ambassador, continuity announcer at Channel 4, and crucially, co-chair of the For Purple Disability Employee Resource Group. So Corie, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Brendan. Hello, everybody. I'm really delighted to be here today. I haven't prepped a presentation, so it's just going to be me talking for 10 minutes, and hopefully your 10 minutes will be enough. So I'll jump straight in because I know time is quite tight. For Purple is Channel 4's Disability Staff Network, and actually we started out because of Purple Light Up. So Graham Whippy was working for Channel 4, and one of the things he was tasked with doing was our workplace adjustments, and he gathered a group of people together, and we had a conversation about whether we should or shouldn't light the number 4 outside the Channel 4 building. And that was the beginning of an awakening, of a realization that actually there were other people at Channel 4 who were interested in driving a conversation around disability inclusion. And so by sort of spring 2018, we had a network. It was called For Purple. We're very much now a part of the fabric of the inclusion culture at Channel 4. We've got about 6 or 7 staff networks now. And our strapline as a disability network is "We don't disability," which I still like. Says everything really. Our mission is, the overarching mission is to empower everybody at Channel 4 to feel confident about disability. And we do that in 3 kind of main ways. First one is around supporting colleagues and raising awareness internally. The second part is the business accountability, being that kind of good critical friend. And the third bit is the outward facing, the ripple effect, where we can have impact outside of Channel 4. In terms of our big achievements, getting the business to renew our disability confident leadership status, getting Alex, our chief exec, to sign up for Valuable 500. But really, it's about the day-to-day, making sure that we keep that drumbeat of ensuring that disability inclusion remains part of the inclusion conversation. And now at Channel 4, we have a new disability workplace lead who started recently, which I think bolsters us as a network and kind of really underlines Channel 4's commitment to disability inclusion. So that's kind of a bit of a potted history of us as a network. In terms of Purple Light Up, we've supported the movement since 2018. And the way that we drive it has changed quite a bit over that time, because at the beginning it was very much For Purple was driving the effort. But what's really pleasing is that it's now become quite embedded within the framework of us as a business. So it's on our brand calendar now, which means that other departments like sales or marketing may well kind of see it coming up and plan their own activity around that. So what we do as a business isn't just driven by the network. I think actually that less is more thing I have to kind of bear in mind sometimes, because I sometimes feel guilty that every year we haven't necessarily done more one year than we did the previous year. But actually, when I think about the Purple movement, really it's about us trying to get more engagement more broadly. So it's about getting more businesses to do something. So that whole kind of, should we be doing more and more and more every year? I think personally it's not about that. It's about kind of getting more organizations to put their shoulders to the wheel and spread the word. So in terms of the activity that we have taken part in as Channel 4, internally, we've done things like a desk drop of the little purple light up ribbon, purple light up ribbons, and everybody wore those one year. We made some t-shirts and got I don't know, 50, 60 staff outside, put photos of that on social media. In terms of lighting things, we've never lit the number 4 outside the building, because actually there's a whole load of boring reasons why we haven't, but our sales team in Manchester lit their floor because they're quite high up and you can see it from the Christmas market, so we got budget to do that one year. And one of the really nice things, which kind of plays into the whole kind of the business picking it up and it not all being driven by us, was that in 2020 our facilities team just took it upon themselves to light the lifts in the building. And it was when there weren't that many people actually going into the building, but you could obviously see the lifts, and they sent us photos and we were able to share those online. So so we have lit some things, even though we haven't lit the number 4. Staff obviously are encouraged to wear purple. And a couple of years ago, somebody created some Teams backgrounds and an email footer. And the great thing about those kind of assets is they're evergreen, so we can just use those every single year, which is brilliant. And then in terms of the external stuff that we've done a couple of creative ad breaks. So one year we got a number of big brands to put forward members of staff who collectively came together in an advert that kind of busted the myth of disabled people not being able to work. And so that was our Disability Works ad, which you might have seen. And then I think it was the following year, we got a number of big brands to actually sponsor the break. So effectively they donated their advertising spots to smaller businesses who employ disabled people. So we had a break that was made up of adverts for those companies, and that break played out a few times around Purple Light Up. In continuity, so between the programmes, on the 3rd of December every year we have a special ident that goes out, and interesting facts and that call to action to take part in the conversation, that hashtag Purple Light Up. We had the first ever live signing of Channel 4 News a few years ago, which was really well received. And of course, being a broadcaster, you want to see it in our programmes, which actually is one of the really hard things for us to get done, because Channel 4 commissions programmes. We don't make our own programmes, and so we have very little editorial control over the content. But we have had programmes like The Last Leg, nodding to Purple Light Up, and I think it was last year Sunday Brunch made some purple food and kind of explained why that was happening. Kind of goes without saying that we have more ideas that don't always kind of make it, and you have to kind of be okay with that as well. And panel discussions, that's another big thing. So obviously around Purple Light Up, lots of companies have conversations around disability inclusion, and we're often asked to find people to go and speak on those, so we're quite happy to do that. And then of course last year we did the leader to leader conversation with our chief exec Alex Mahon. In terms of the actual leader to leader concept, I love it. I think it's really powerful. It's really simple, but it's a really, really powerful idea. So I was quite keen that we did it. And I don't encounter Alex all that often, but she and I have had some really hearty conversations about disability inclusion, and she's very much an advocate of inclusion broadly. So I just literally sent her an email, outlined the concept, and asked if she was up for it, and the yes came back really quickly, so that was great. We're very lucky at Channel 4 that we have a very well-oiled kind of corporate comms machine, and so our corporate comms director was on board straight away, really supportive. He found the budget for us to get the film made by an external production company, and actually I think the hardest thing was probably for Alex's EA to find the space in her diary to facilitate the recording. Our comms director as well was really keen that we made sure it was properly accessible, so it was signed and had captioning on it as well. And then actually when it came to recording, we were really tight for time. The window that we had was really small, so we didn't have any time to rehearse. We just sat down and had the conversation. People knew that the broad theme. And I think what we came out with was a really good broad conversation. For those who haven't seen it, it was 3 of us in conversation. It was me, Alex, and my co-chair, Nicole.
Just give you a 2-minute heads up, Corie.
Okay, thanks, Brendan. And the main sort of thrust of the conversation was around purposeful leadership and what it means to each of us. And yeah, I am really pleased with what came out. In typical Channel 4 style, we bent the rules a little bit, and we made, we submitted something that was a bit longer than was actually requested. I think our final edit was about 7 minutes, but we all felt that it was really important. What we had to say that was left in from the cutting room floor was there was nothing else we could cut out, so it was a bit longer than it should have been. And yes, it looked great because it had been done externally, but I think the thing I'd like to say to wrap up really is that it really doesn't matter how polished it actually looks. Yes, we had something that the wrapping looked great as well, but actually it's about the conversation that you have, and it's about getting our senior leaders engaged in a really important conversation around disability inclusion, and then putting that out in the world and getting other people to sit up and listen. So really it's not about the production values at all. It's about the conversation itself and where it goes after that. So okay, I'm going to wrap up there actually before I run out of time completely. So Brendan, hopefully that's been helpful, a little insight from
Corie,
the Channel 4 world.
Fantastic, and it's a superb video. We'll share a link to it for those that haven't seen it. Love the fact that Purple Light Up is now part of the brand calendar, so really baked into what you're doing at Channel 4. So thank you. Look, we will come back. I know there will be questions. I have questions myself, so stick around, Corie,
Okay.
And we'll invite questions after Michael has spoken as well. So without further ado, Michael, I invite you to come off mute. So pleasure to introduce Michael Vermeesh, Accessibility Product Marketing Manager and UK Disability ERG Chair at Microsoft. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and it's great to be here with Corie actually as well. A long time no see, so thank you for that. Pleasure as well. Thank you. Right. Well, for us, this was good going through this exercise for us, because it was kind of going through a journey back in time. And I remember I was checking. So we started our employee resource group at Microsoft UK in 2015, and it kind of came with some kind of D&I initiative, and we kind of had to do this. But at the same time, we had a leadership change with Satya Nadella coming on board. Our company mission was changing to empower every person on the planet and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And just giving you a bit of an idea of what was going on, we had Jenny Leigh-Fleury, our Chief Accessibility Officer, being appointed in 2016. And when in 2015 this employee resource group had to be founded, I mean, one of the reasons was just because that I got there was I started chatting with Jenny Leigh-Fleury and saying, okay, so what's going on and what you're doing? And she said, oh, we're doing an ability summit in Seattle. Why don't you come over? And I just said to my manager, well, I need to come over. I'm in the UK, right? To which, yeah, who was going to pay for that? So I said to the HR director, well, they say I need to come over and I will learn everything and then I can do stuff. To which she said, okay, we'll fund that, but the condition is that you set up an ERG then. Okay, an employee resource group. Okay, fine. Don't know what that means, but I get a trip to see Jenny because I do like what she's doing, our Chief Accessibility Officer. Now, with that, when coming back, I was of course an awe, and the thing was here is that I felt that an employee resource group shouldn't be, and sorry, that was just the impression I had in my head, shouldn't be a coffee group. It should be a movement for change. And you know, I wasn't thinking of the concept of leadership per se. That only came later, and thanks to Purple Light Up actually to bring that in there. So fast forward a little bit to 2018. Yeah, next. So in 2017, we became disability confident committed level. So there's a first level. And with that, we came in touch with other organizations, which kind of shows you this is a thing where you connect with other organizations, start learning from each other. And there was this chap called Julian John from Delcian. And suddenly he was saying, oh, are we going to do Purple Light Up in December? And I'm glad to be an ambassador again. And, you know, I was still learning, even though we started our employee resource group in 2015. And I've heard of International Day for People with Disability, but I had not heard of Purple Light Up. And so what's one of that? So he explained, I said, oh, okay. So, you know, we would actually show the world that we value this and we want to make progress in this. And at the same time, cheeky me, we're committing our organization that we value this as well. So I went to facilities. I said, we need to do this. Well, what's this? So, well, we need to lit up our buildings, that kind of stuff, and for Purple Light Up. And at first, you know, they said like, well, yeah, but that means everybody could ask this. What do you mean? Well, you know, somebody else might want it yellow then for another day, or orange for another day. And I just said, you don't understand. I'm not asking for everybody. I'm asking for the disabled community. And it's purple. And it's that day. That's it. Oh, okay. So that was in 2018. But at the same time, we started to also have leaders in our organization who said, okay, what's this about? Yeah, okay. We want to at least participate and see and say what we feel about this. And this got into social media. This got all the pictures you're seeing here, social media, and on our vid screens throughout that whole period. So, you know, that was a bit of a struggle first, but suddenly, poof, everything went open. Next. Now, 2000, a bit later then, and we work in financial years. We then came to more activities, internal training with our managers. We had a visitor of Minister for People with Disabilities from then. We got invited in Downing Street. We got noticed by some other people. And there you are, we started to regularly participate. And the way I saw it in the ERG was, you know, I felt that it was, how do you measure progress? And this is why I got these slides, because I could compare every year with what happened before. And I could see that this is how we would actually be making progress. And at that point, I would also say, well, we're running it as a business because we're measuring progress. And hold that thought. Next. 2019. 2019, we started to have more participation from our board and people, and they started to contribute in what was going to go on the screens. So other messages you see here, and again, of course, Purple Light Up was mentioned there, but we then had more buildings participating. Yeah, that was good. You can go to that one. More buildings participating. More departments from Microsoft participating across the UK. You see here one of our game studios as well in the middle. So you just 1 year later, you would see more participation in there, and people were actually eager to participate. On the right-hand side here, you see our London store, who also participated. Now, the great thing here was I didn't have to ask. I didn't have to talk about budget. I didn't have to go cap in hand to say, yeah, we're ready. We know what to do. Purple, and you want more probably, right? Yeah, of course. And we did more activities. We've got guide dogs there around that period. We produced badges with the color purple as well, because, you know, this all came from that purple light up thing, which we then used throughout the year.
Just coming up to your 2 minutes, Michael.
Okay, next. We had more leaders participating with more messages. Yeah, you can go through this. And, you know, having this go throughout all our offices continuously, being seen by all our employees, by all our visiting customers, all our visiting partners, showed that this meant really something for us. 2020 was special, we know that, because of the pandemic. And this is where we started this 24/7 broadcast for over 6 continents. And where would I find the content for this? And everybody just said, yeah, okay, here's content that you can give for that 24/7 broadcast. And what a spectacle it was, right? We had huge participation and things like that. We had people then saying, hey, can we make mini videos so we can produce those talking about accessibility and stuff like that? And we produced a humongous amount of mini videos. It's actually remarkable, Corie, that we we had more broadcasting activity than you on that sense. Oh, bless. Next. And with 2021, then, where we finally got that to that concept from leader to leader. And the beauty here again was I didn't have to do a single thing. The buildings got lit up in a purple way. We got more buildings. The whole Thames Valley Park actually got lit up in a purple way, where we are based. But those leaders, we got the general manager of public sector, general manager for HR, general manager of consultancy. They all, we had a leader in our research department. They all stepped in and said, yeah, of course we'll do that. And other people stepped in to do the interviews. It just happened. I just did the video editing then and the captioning. Next.
Fantastic, Michael. I think we're on to your last slide.
And the last slide is then, again, great thing. I didn't take this picture. Somebody an employee just said, you know what? I like working for Microsoft because we do these kind of things. And that just kind of completely curveball. Okay. And this is how we change. This is how we drive change. So that's just amazing. And this is thanks to Purple Light Up and thanks to everybody participating in this.
Michael, fantastic. Thank you for that history. You know what I love about the fact that you can convey that history is that you're recording history, but you are, as you say, measuring progress, which I think is something that often we struggle to do. So huge thank you to Corie and Michael. I know the questions have been coming in. It's been so much action on the comments bar as well. So before we invite questions, quick update from me on this year's Leader to Leader theme, and then Graham's going to come in for just a couple of minutes and let everybody know what support they can expect from Purple Space to help you to have a powerful and impactful Purple Light Up this year. So Leader to Leader. So we've heard from Channel 4 and Microsoft. And when we introduced Leader to Leader last year, the reaction from the community told us immediately that we had hit upon a powerful concept. We saw 70 conversations in the first year between disability, ERG leaders and their CEOs, nearly 200,000 combined views. And you only need to listen to Corie's conversation with her CEO, Alex, where Alex is saying as CEO, her job is to remove barriers and that she's lucky to have Corie and Nicole from the ERG to tell her where they're not getting it right, where they need to go next. You hear that, it's so powerful, and we knew this is something that we have to replicate and it's something that we have to scale. So Leader to Leader is back, and I predict that it will be here with us for a while longer as well. So Last year, we invited leaders to discuss the characters of purposeful leadership. This year, we're inviting disability and ERG network leaders and their CEOs to discuss the role of personal and professional development in building the inner confidence of employees with disabilities. So why this topic? Well, when CEOs lean into the topic of disability, they often ask their people, what are we doing? Or where do we start? And they usually advise to focus on things like improving the workplace accommodations process, or training line managers, or improving self-ID and data. And these are all super important areas of focus for any organization. But it's less common for CEOs to hear that they should start by learning directly from their employees with disabilities, and that they should start by investing in their colleagues with disabilities' personal and professional development. So that's something that we at Purple Space want to change. And what better way to accelerate the process of that change than by inviting disability and ERG network leaders and their CEOs to come together to discuss inner confidence. So there you have it. You heard it here first. You have 6 months, but you're not alone. We'll be providing members with relevant know-how, as we did last year, to organize and publish these conversations. And I'm going to hand over to our Purple Light Up campaign director, Graham Moffat, who's going to give us a brief overview of the support that will be available to members for Purple Light Up this year. So Graham, welcome.
Thanks, Brendan. I'm excited to share, as you've kind of signposted there, some fantastic news, and also tease some future work that we're doing for this year's Purple Light Up. Now, Purple Light Up is a movement to celebrate the economic contribution of persons with disabilities, but we see year on year how ERG networks are focusing less on lighting up purple and more on leveraging the movement. That's why today I'm pleased to announce the launch of our new member support offering, which will provide support for all members on how they can leverage Purple Light Up for themselves. Sorry. I'm going to bring up a flavour of what will be covered in this. If I can get to bring that up, Kirsty. So the pack will cover many topics, such as how to approach your CEO, technical tips on how to add subtitles, as well as detailed guides on how to create an impact case study that will allow you to really showcase the impact that participating in Purple Light Up has had on your organisation. But it doesn't stop there. Starting in July through to October, it pleases me to let you know that our members will have access to a Purple Light Up specific peer group sessions chaired by myself, focusing in on the leader-to-leader conversation, as well as on how to create an impact case study. Now, sadly, my secondment is going to be coming to an end at the end of August, but before it does, I would love to speak to as many members as possible about how I can help with this year's planning. I'll be shortly reaching out to all our members to offer some options, so please, if you'd like to have a chat, just sing out and we'll get something booked in. Now, most of you in this call are long-standing members, but I know 1 or 2 of you are not members. Please don't worry. Anyone can continue to use Purple Light Up, and you can still have access to lots of free resources, such as a fantastic Get Involved pack. But it's within our membership where you can really learn how to leverage your movement. And if you'd like to discuss becoming a member, please reach out and let's have a conversation. Now, I said I wanted to tease some exciting collaborations, so I'll give you a couple that are coming down the pipeline that we're working on, and that we'll aim to have delivered with you before the 3rd December. So we're working with UK-based charity Scope on a UK pilot to provide an option for people to buy sustainably sourced, pre-owned purple clothing and accessories in the lead up to Purple Light Up. Also, in the past, we recognise we've created a bit of a problem by not having an option for official merchandise, resulting in some of you going through maybe unauthorised suppliers or making unofficial merchandise. We're pleased to confirm this year we'll now be able to link you to our official merchandise partner, who'll be happy to supply some official Purple Light Up products for your organisation. And finally, we're working on behind the scenes on an exciting piece of research, really quantifying the economic contribution of persons with disabilities, and we really hope to share that with you and look forward to seeing your reactions. Pass it back to you, Brendan.
Graham, thank you. So look, plenty of support on offer to colleagues and members. So look, now we have a chance for questions to our speakers. So of course, if you have questions to Graham and myself, but more importantly, we have Corie and Michael on hand to answer questions as well. So feel free to put your questions into the chat. I suppose as chair, I will take advantage of my position while people are thinking of their questions to you both. And I suppose, Corie, maybe if I could start with you, a question about impact. So what would you say is the main impact from the work that you've done around Purple Light Up over the years?
God, that's a really hard question to answer, actually. I think it's, for me, it really is about the embedding and the confidence around the conversation, I think, is growing over time. I think it helps for disability to seem like less of a misnomer, you know, more part of the everyday kind of conversation. So yeah, I think for me it's about that drumbeat. I mean, obviously Purple Light Up is one day, but the build up to it is a big conversation. And obviously some of the activity isn't always focused just around the 3rd of December either. So I think for me it is about that kind of everything becoming just a bit more of a normal conversation, and each year you kind of feel like it's a bit more in that general direction.
Yeah, I thought the example you gave, Corie, of a Purple Light Up sort of living with the network for those first couple of years, and then I suppose being baked into wider organizational activities and making it into the comms program. Really
I mean, the fact it sits on the brand calendar now is really quite important and quite significant, because it's about more people shouldering not the load, but just the you know, the general push, I guess. And I think as network leaders, sometimes you can feel like a lot sits on your shoulders. And of course, you know, for all of us, or certainly most of us, it's not the day job at all. And so actually we all want and are very well intentioned around Purple Light Up. So, you know, we want it to be a success. And the fact that you've got more and more people, I think what Michael said was really powerful around how Microsoft, so many people getting behind it. And I think this is where the really big organizations can leverage that manpower. You know, I'm quite conscious sometimes that Channel 4 is really quite small compared to some, you know, wonderfully big global organizations. And sorry, I'm starting to waffle.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff, Corie. And Michael, I'll bring you in. And actually, Michael, we've got a question. So thank you, Vinci Wu, for your question. And the question is, given that International Day, it is a day, falls on the 3rd of December, as we all know, does it make sense to celebrate it during the week, potentially the week before and the week after, so extending the opportunity for the day presents? So Michael, is that something that you have had any experience with at Microsoft?
Yes. I have personal feelings about this, in the sense that, and I'm just going to throw this out there, I know it's recorded, I know a lot of people there, but just throwing it out there might actually make you think a little bit as well. So when you look at the calendar, you're looking at September, where it could be kind of okay, but you already have a focus on dyslexia and you know, accessibility in schools and things like that. So there's already a bit of a buzz after the holiday months coming. When you then get into October and November, you're getting where typically disability confidence events start happening, but also as an international organization, National Disability Employment Awareness Month then comes up as well, where, you know, things are happening. And obviously as an organization with, you know, an American headquarters, you know, that pervades through, and we have to celebrate this. So in a way, the 3rd of December is then a lovely moment to kind of the fireworks and Christmas will happen. But more and more they say, well, it's also Disability Heritage Month, December. And, you know, there's this point where, as a disabled people, that we're kind of saying, like, you know what, you can do this too. You don't necessarily need us to actually bring that value of empowering everybody, including everybody. So there is that element there. But yes, of course, and we have done that. And because sometimes, you know, certain days falls on a Sunday or on Saturday, or actually it makes sense to broaden it out or include another event or actually do this for a customer or a partner. Absolutely. But you know, it could be a whole year, and you don't necessarily need people with disabilities to celebrate the value of the contribution that people with disabilities bring to the economy. Absolutely, do things with us rather than for us, but you know, you can drive things yourselves.
Thanks, thank you, Michael. Yeah, great insight, and you know, Vinci is certainly something that we have seen across the community. So the opportunity that Purple Light Up and International Day presents actually is too good to spend only one day. So we are seeing it spread over weeks, months, and now we have Michael Vermeesh suggesting 12 months. So watch out. Look, Corie, I'll bring you back in. We have another question from Denise. I'm going to pick your question out from the chat. So thanks for your question. So more and more happening every year. So Denise has got a question about, it looks like we're talking about getting started here. So how do we start, and then how do we continue? Because we're currently piloting a disability ARG. So Corie, look, you've been 4 years in the chair role at For Purple. So do you have any advice for Denise about getting started, particularly using Purple Light Up as a vehicle for getting started, getting ahead?
I think first and foremost, it's about starting. It is about having a conversation. If you've got a pilot, then that would suggest that there are some people that want to push, that put some energy collectively. And actually, I remember way back in the day, sort of 2012, after Channel 4 had covered the Paralympics, and there were a few of us sort of becoming quite aware of the fact that perhaps as an organisation, Channel 4 was a bit more on it, publicly facing, than we were internally. And somebody quite senior said to me once, he said, remember that 4 voices are louder than 1. And so even if your network feels really small at the beginning, actually the size of it doesn't matter. It's the fact that you've got a collection of people who will want to push in a similar direction. I have to admit, I don't think I've ever been overly strategic, and maybe that's one of my greatest downfalls, is that I've been quite guttural a lot of the time. I think perhaps it comes down to a lack of time to really plan and think too far ahead, which some people would absolutely shoot me down for, I'm sure. But I think, you know, in my experience, a lot comes from just being open and aware and interested and curious, and bringing people in together and giving everybody the airspace to have the ideas and to you know, put everything in the melting pot and see what happens. I think it's possibly not the most polished answer, Brendan, but you know, our beginning was really organic and it's worked really well for us. Does that help to answer the question?
Yeah, that's great, Corie, thank you. Questions are coming in thick and fast now, so we've got a few more minutes. So I'm going to pick out a question we have one from Belinda May, so co-chair of the Disability ARG in Denton's, and star of our most recent Spotlight On interview video as well. So we'll sure we'll be able to share that in the links as well. So do check it out, The Art of Great Leadership. So hi, Belinda, your question then is about securing the participation of your CEO, so Sonia Martin, and Belinda's making the point here that she will need to prepare the foundation to make this happen. So we'd welcome your advice, given that you have already secured the participation of your leaders in Leader to Leader. So Michael, I'll start with you, because you didn't just secure the participation of one leader, you had a whole bunch of leaders talking to your ERG committee. So any advice for Belinda in how you convince a leader to partake in this conversation?
It's a good question, and obviously you've seen a journey here now, and you know, and that journey wasn't necessarily straightforward, easy, fast, all of that kind of stuff either. But in a way, this is change management, and if you look at change management, there's a number of principles. First of all, you know, there is an element of awareness that needs to be risen. there's that kind of also explaining why it needs to happen, that getting to the element of desire. And then there's an element of making people more confident so they know that they can actually participate and what they can say, can't say, all of that kind of stuff. And then when you grow that muscle, obviously then also celebrating and feeding back that people are on the right track. So that's one part of the change management. But another part of the change management is to go find a sponsor, and you will need to work for that. Go find a sponsor. But if you know that 1 in 2 people know, love, or care about somebody with a disability, you know, they might not necessarily tell you, it might not be evident, but go find that first sponsor and work your way from there. I mean, many organizations already have those kind of mentorship schemes and things like that, and that is your voice in the other room, and that in itself helps you grow them, but helps you grow as leader as well, to bring it to another level, if that makes sense. Yeah. And now at Microsoft, you know, I know that continuously in our executive leadership team, topics like this are being discussed. Our latest conference, Envision, things just got done. We had keynotes on disability because it fell together with Global Accessibility Awareness Day. I didn't have to tell them. So that's the only way you just know, they know. I can retire now. I didn't say that. Did I say that? Oh my God.
I think you're a long way from retirement, Michael. Much work to be done. Corie, how about you? Advice for Belinda in terms of securing the participation of her chief exec in this year's Leader to Leader?
I think Michael talks so much sense. I'm not sure what I can add, really. I think absolutely right. The exec sponsorship part of being a network is really important, and I think any network that exists that doesn't yet have that kind of level of support, that's probably one thing to try to address. I mean, at Channel 4, it was one thing that Alex was very keen on right from the get-go, was to ensure that every network had an exec sponsor, and then obviously you've got that conduit straight up to the top and back down again, which I think everybody would say is beneficial on a whole load of levels. I think it's probably quite difficult if you feel that your senior leaders are very inaccessible, and I guess that's something I don't really have an awful lot of experience with, because, you know, at Channel 4 they're relatively open door, and obviously people are busy, but if you have a leadership that is bought in broadly to the inclusion principles, and you have your network being supported by your leaders, then it's almost a bit of a no-brainer that taking part in something like this is something that they would want to do. I mean, you know, it's a great PR exercise for any business. If you want to be really brutal about it, you know, if you are a business that really does want to let the world know that you are committed to inclusion, and that you consider disability inclusion within that, because we all know that only something like ridiculous, like 4% of businesses actually think of disability when they talk about inclusion, which is just shocking. So it's probably a slightly roundabout the houses way of saying, actually our leaders should want to do this. So it's about how you reach out to them in a way that they can get the concept, but also see why it would be beneficial to them, I guess personally, even to do it. Because we all know our senior leaders all have a bit of an ego, don't they? So if you can, you know, if you can find the right bit to tap into, that's probably very helpful.
Thanks, Corie. Great. That's great advice. And Belinda, I would just add to that as well. You know, this is the second year for Leader to Leader now. So actually really mind the example. So you know, the conversation between Corie and Alex is out there online. It's a thing of beauty. You can access videos of Alan Joe, the CEO of Unilever, speaking directly to his ERG leaders, and I think I saw Sarah from Accenture on the call as well. So there's video of her talking to Jimmy Etheridge, the CEO of Accenture. There are tons of great examples as well. So they may well help you to get over the line with your chief exec as well. So look, that's all the time we have for questions. Michael and Corie, as always, absolute stars. Thank you very much for your time and for answering our questions. We're now going to hand over. I'm going to hand back to Kate, if you're still there, Kate, and we're going to reintroduce Andy Kneen.
Wonderful. Brendan, thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Wonderful. Well, look, fantastic session as ever. Michael, Corie, big high five. Thank you warmly for sharing your experiences. And I can see from the chat box that many are motivated and engaged to get involved in Purple Light Up for the first time, or or to get re-involved. It's just wonderful. So as we close this session, I just want to ambush proceedings fleetingly for us to offer thanks and love and gratitude to a man who many of you have met either virtually or indeed face to face over the years. So come into the room, Andy, come and join us. Andy, previously from Shell, he's been a Purple Space ambassador and a chair of this reference group for some time now. And he's moving on. He's starting a new life as a non-executive director and starting some new studies in a new discipline. And so is standing away for at least a while from our community, though I often say that once bitten by the Purple Space bug, you never truly leave. So I'm very much hoping that we will stay in touch. Andy has been a huge source of ideas, of fuel, of grit, of support, and really constant care as we have built the Purple Space community. And I'm personally indebted to his kindness and his humour that often gets you through tough stuff. And arguably, Purple Space would not exist had it not been for him and indeed other members of the editorial board that created the original messages that were then secrets and big news that led to our arrival in 2015. Importantly, Andy pioneered the first ever disability storytelling campaign, Be Yourself, in 2013, 2014. And in my view, he, as an individual, helped pave the way for others and made it easier for those of us that came next. As I said, we're gonna be whisking him away in a couple of weeks for dinner and drinks to celebrate his contribution. We've dragged him here so we can send our love to him. And I want to, Andy, just ask you two questions, super quick questions, as you start your new venture. We don't have a huge amount of time, but I know you think fast and you speak fast, which is wonderful. What have you noticed? What have you noticed in how Purple Light Up has developed since my infamous tweet in 2017?
Hi Kate, hi everybody, and thanks for those lovely words. I think it's been fantastic how it's grown so quickly. If you think when we started this off, we had to try and explain it, explain why we're doing it, explain why Purple, explain why 3rd of December. And I know in Shell, just like in many other organisations, we've mainstreamed it. Everybody expects this now on the 3rd of December, and it's something that we can use to celebrate disability. And I think one of the things that I've always been a bit envious of is other networks, so such as LGBT has Pride, and other networks that celebrate what they do. And I think it's great that on the 3rd of December we celebrate disability. For many of us, every day is a disability day, but to get the wider organisation to back us and to wear purple or to have a purple background, I just think that's amazing.
Wonderful. And then Andy, lastly, and congratulations again for your OBE and the New Year's Honours List. I know we've had another recent round of honours list, but you secured your OBE in January. My last question is, what is the thing that you remain proudest about in terms of the work you've done at Shell? What will you carry forward into your new life?
I think probably the one thing I'm proudest about is when we started it off, we started it in the UK and then we went to the US and Canada, but we've now got enable networks, disability networks in 16 different countries. So places like India and South Africa, where we thought it'd be a bit more challenging. So it's the fact that it's gone global. I think that's something I'm proud about. And then I guess the other thing would be, a particular initiative we did for disabled customers to make it easier for disabled customers to fill their car in a Shell petrol station. That's now gone out to all of our self-service petrol stations and is becoming the industry norm. So I think when you do something that impacts customers, that makes you feel good. So they will be the things, but Kate, I'm not going anywhere, and I hope that I can still be involved in in some capacity.
Marvellous. I'm jumping up and down with excitement. Andy, thank you. You know, lastly, as I hand back to Bren, you know, when I was writing my latest book, Positively Purple, which comes out in October, I couldn't help but, you know, remember many of the stories that you have shared with me and others, you know, often with an unflinching honesty that you offer up so generously. So we will see you soon. I'm glad you're not going to run away. Thank you from all of us. We wish you all the best in your next exciting life. Thank you so much for your gifted leadership over these years, and we will see you very soon.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Look, thank you, Kate, and thank you, Andy. Look, I know you're not retiring, you're not disappearing, but you know, what a contribution to not just disability inclusion at Shell, but through your ambassador role at Purple Space to the global disability ERG community and to people with disabilities worldwide through your leadership of the Purple Light Up movement as well. So like Kate, really looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks so we can toast you properly. So we have come to the end of today's session. So huge thank you to Corie and to Michael for joining us today. But look, more importantly, thank you for your leadership. You know, this is a conversation about leadership, and you are doing a very, very fine job of leading, not just in your organizations, but for the wider community as well. Thank you to everybody for joining and for participating. Enjoyed your comments and your questions. I hope this session fills you with energy and ideas about how you can use this moment, Purple Light Up, to create not only a lot of noise, but also lasting change within your organizations. Our next meeting will be on the 8th of September. So we have it on the slide here. Of course, we'll follow up with more detail after the event. You can click the link and sign up to the next session on the website. Until then, Graham, our Purple Light Up campaign director, will be in touch with all of you, and you know where we are in the meantime if you need anything from us. So thank you to our speakers, thank you to our participants, and have a great rest of your day.
Just a reminder to stop recording, Kirsty. I'm going to stay on here.